This isn't clickbait, you saw the thumbnail, so let's talk about it. Evil Morty is not as smart as many Rick and Morty fans claim him to be. I'm sure that he isn't even smarter than Prime Rick. In fact, he isn't even smarter than our C137 Rick, and I can prove it in this video. In this video, I want to discuss Season 7, Episode 5 of Rick and Morty titled Unmortricken. Rick and Morty, a well-known series that has become a cult classic over a 7-season stretch spanning over a decade. Despite having many controversies surrounding it, it's currently one of the best things on cable TV. This peculiar episode is noteworthy as it's featured one of the more major events within the Rick and Morty series, Rick finally killing his nemesis, Rick Prime. However, there has been a lot of misinformation circulating about Evil Morty being portrayed as the smartest character within the show. I disagree with this notion, but before delving in further, it's important to note this. Rick didn't solely rely on Evil Morty to defeat Rick Prime. Evil Morty needed Rick as much as Rick needed Evil Morty. Before we continue this video, enter Evil Morty. To grasp Evil Morty's character, let's go back to his introduction in Season 1, Episode 10, Close Rick Counters of the Rick Kind. In this episode, C137 Rick is framed by Evil Rick for murdering many Ricks across the central finite curve, a crime befitting of his nature. Towards the end, Rick tells Morty that he considers himself to be the Rickest Rick, and the Rickest Rick will have the Mortiest Morty. Morty is infatuated with this revelation, but Rick warns him that confident Morty or a Cocky Morty can lead to pretty bad things. As Morty questions this, Rick diverts the conversation, only revealing later that Evil Morty was the real one controlling Evil Rick. This revelation foreshadows 3 moments when it comes to Rick and Morty. 1. This moment introduced us to the idea of the Rickest Rick. This of course later revealed to be Rick Prime to be the Rickest Rick. 2. This is foreshadowing of Morty being the original grandson of Prime Rick, the way that Rick says that the Rickest Rick would have the Mortiest Morty. And 3, the warning about Cocky Morty leading to bad things, which is of course, as we now know, Evil Morty. What makes Evil Morty so dangerous is not because of his high intelligence for Morty, it's his confidence. A Cocky Morty. The Rick and Morty series goes out of its way to constantly show and highlight that if Morty gains any ounce of confidence, he's entirely a different character. This originally shown in Season 3, Episode 6 titled Rest and Rick's Relaxation, an alien spell featuring a detox machine, a machine capable of isolating and removing toxic traits that individual believes they have. For Rick, that would be his entitlement, his narcissistic nature, his loneliness, and his irrational attachment to things. And for Morty, this would be his fearfulness, his self-depreciationness, and his submissiveness to Rick. When Morty came out the detox machine, he appears to be more confident and more intelligent and more similar to Evil Morty. Not in the way that you think he will be, it's just that since he doesn't rely on Rick right now, he appears to be a dialed-back version of the Evil Morty we got in the episode Unmortricken. Enter Unmortricken. Unmortricken, C137 Rick engages in tampering with the central finite curve in an effort to locate Prime Rick. What he was doing was cycling through the decoys scattered across the multiverse in efforts to find Prime Rick. This act was able to be detected by Evil Morty, who was disturbed by this process. So by Evil Morty confronting Rick of what he was doing, he suggested to check for probability stasis for more of an accurate read to find his target. After Rick takes his suggestion, it appears that they found the right target. Rick was skeptical of the fact that they even find Prime Rick. When questioned why by Morty, Evil Morty went on to say that he believes that Rick is afraid that he actually found his target and doesn't want to give Evil Morty the credit for the kill. But however, it seems that Rick was right in his skepticism because the whole thing led to a trap. I feel like many first-time viewers swept this moment under the rug. Within this moment, this shows a big Rickness within Evil Morty's character. He genuinely always thinks he's right about any given situation. That's that confidence I was talking about earlier. When he even stepped in to Rick's machine, he literally said, "Everything is what I think it is."
Is this what I think it is? Of course it is. Everything's what I think it is.
So right after that, the fact that he was able to be wrong proves that he's not as smart as he think he is. Another moment I want to point out during the episode is that when Rick, Morty, and our Morty is trying to escape from the trap, it is heavily implied that Evil Morty was able to create a more advanced, upgraded version of the traditional Rick Porter gun. This may seem impressive at first hand, but you have to realize this isn't the first case of someone within Rick and Morty creating a better way of portal travel than Rick. If we take a look back to Jurassic Morty, the episodes present us dinosaurs who are relatively smart as Rick, and our Rick kinda recognized them as kinda of his equal. So within this episode, within this season, portal travel is still broken due to the acts in the previous season. So the dinosaurs presented a more effective way of portal travel, calling Rick's version suboptimal. So Evil Morty having a better way of portal travel or having a portal gun that is more advanced than Rick isn't that impressive in the grand scheme of things. The final battle of Rick Prime. In the final moments of the episode, Evil Morty, C-137 Rick, and R Morty find themselves in an intense 3v1 battle against Prime Rick. However, a prevalent misconception within the fanbase attributes the defeat of Prime Rick primarily to Evil Morty, which overlooks the significant role caused by C-137 Rick and R Morty. Before we analyze the fight, you have to understand the reason why all three of them are even there in the first place is because of Rick. Remember, it was Rick initially who took the black goo from that trap, and realizing that anyone or everybody had told them never escaped that trap before. So this would be a huge way of tracking down Rick Prime, and he was ultimately right. And if you finally look at the fight of itself, who was the one mainly engaging with Rick Prime? It was Rick in an emotional, angry state. This kind of matters because Rick is also human, and we know that if he was just more calm, more like planful, instead of just openly just angry, full of that pent-up stress and depression caused by Rick Prime, he would have handled the fight way better in my opinion, because I believe a more calm, confident Rick is more dangerous than a bloodlusted, angry Rick. And when Rick and Evil Morty was 2v1ing Prime Rick in the point of the fight, it was kind of obvious that Prime Rick was clearly a greater opponent when it comes to hand-to-hand combat and battle IQ and just overall tech, and that the two of them was no match for him. Well, I'll do say it was impressive that Evil Morty was the one to get the ultimate hit on Rick Prime, but we have to understand the situation he was in. He needed to disguise himself to trick Rick Prime to thinking that he was Prime Morty, his original grandson. He needed this distraction to catch Prime Rick off guard. And when I say he needed this distraction, he needs it because he quite literally credits Morty for the assist.
Shitty, Grandpa. Oh, well, why am I wearing an eye patch? And wait, did we switch shirts? Yeah, thanks for the assist. Rick, we did it. Evil Morty got him. Rick.
And this is awfully important because when there's characters as smart as Rick, they will always tend to give credit when credit is due. Just like in the dinosaur episode, Rick understand that these dinosaurs was on the same level as him. Even Prime Rick gave C-137 Rick a bit of respect and acknowledgement by saying they're the only two in the multiverse of Ricks who was able to create portal travel on their own. So when Evil Morty says thanks for the assist, you have to understand that this was the ideal situation he has to be to capitalize on Prime Rick. And I believe if this was a true 1v1 scenario, Prime Rick takes this with like mid-diff. So ultimately, the way I look at this was a combined group effort by C-137, Evil Morty, and R Morty. So in conclusion, Evil Morty has yet to fully impress me with his intellectual prowess, and I still have him below C-137 and Prime Rick. He hasn't done enough in this series for me to put him over those two, because if we take a look back to the previous season where Evil Morty reveals himself to be President Morty and tries to trick Rick by going into a hijacked portal gun, Rick automatically knew what was going on. But hey, there's nothing wrong of being third place within the verse, top 3. I do believe Evil Morty to be more capable than he already is, and I can't wait for what he can do in the later seasons. But as for right now, both Ricks are still smarter than Evil Morty. So I'd like to say thanks for watching my video. I had a lot of fun making this video. I'm a big Rick and Morty fan, been watching it, following the series since the first season of it. Been over 10 years and I'm still waiting for more seasons to come. And if you disagree with this video, it's nothing personal. I'm always open to fearful, honest conversations down in the comment section below. And if you made this far, comment eye patch so I know who's the real ones out there. My name's Taken and we do a little reviewing around here.